What is going down, YouTube family? It is your boy Zary, and before we get into the video, one thing I want to tell you is, if you are just starting this game and you are under level 15, make sure you're using my promo code. Down in the description of my video is a link if you're just finding this channel for the first time. Click that link to download Dragon Champions on iOS or Android. Once you do that, click the cog setting, wrong way, right there above me. Click that cog setting. Inside the cog setting, you are going to see the use promo code. Make sure you're clicking on that. When you're in the promo code, type in XMG gift. Hit the OK button and get $10 worth of free stuff. So with that being said, my YouTube family, enjoy the free stuff. Help support the channel. I love y'all. Enjoy the video. What is going on, my YouTube family? It's your boy Zary, and we are back for Worst to First. All champions ranked here in Dragon Champions. And we finished off with 61 with Stim. We're going to jump into 60 through 51 again. If you want to see how we do this and what goes into the rankings, please refer back to the first video. That way you'll understand it a little more. And let's not waste any time and jump into it. Number 60, Rowley. We had Stim at 61. I got Rowley at 60. And Rowley's a good character, but she's underwhelming a little bit. In my mind, she has really no value outside the dwarf comp or paired with Stim. Kid is benefits Stims so much. And if you haven't really read it, you should look at it. At the start of each turn, she gains 5% charge for each allied dwarf with health below 100%. Doubles charged gain for allies with health below 50%. So that's a really good passive. At the end of the turn, every 5% charge gives the ally with the lowest health shield equal to 10% of her magic damage. Really good passive. I like that. I honestly do like that. I think it is good. Passive healing is really nice. Here, removes 2 debuffs from herself, gains cheat death, dodge increase, and haste for 2 turns. Restores 25% health. Stim gains taunt, consumes 25% charge. For every 5% charge consumed, she restores 15% turn meter. So if you have the 25%, you're gaining a boatload of turn meter back, which is awesome. Giving Stim taunt is really, really cool. But what if you don't need him to get taunt? It's only for 1 turn, so if he already has taunt, it's kind of wasted. Cheat death's okay, dodge increased, haste, that stuff's beautiful. Heals herself, I like it. But there's little things in here that I just don't care for. It's always a mouthful. Her Stimpak heals all allies for 600% of her magic damage, consumes 25% of charged. For every 5% charge consumed, you give a random ally armor increase, tenacity increase, and a regeneration for 2 turns. Not the best debuffs in the world, but it's something. Not very selfish. Heal is really, really nice. Her basic deals 300% magic damage to the target, inflicts accuracy decrease, and restores 25% charge to herself and Stim, again, if the target had full health. So I guess you have Stim after they give shield, and Rowley before that. So, okay. Kit doesn't read that bad. It's got a lot of Stim implications. Very strong heal. But right here, magic damage at gear 13 is only 3679. Unruined, of course. She's slow, but she does feed herself turn meter. But outside of that dwarf faction, I've tried other comps and she just doesn't seem to work as well. And it just doesn't work the way you want to. Inside the dwarf, she's really, really good. Really, really good. Outside of the dwarves, bottom tier. To me. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong. 59 is Revol. And this might shock some people, but Revol is top of the bottom tier to me. He's so niche, and you gotta have so many things working for him. His lead is really good for raids. It adds to the survivability, right? But gear 13, he's at 130 speed. Really, really slow. His physical damage is great, but you need bleeds out there. He goes so slow, you gotta pair him with somebody with bleeds. His Eviscerate gives himself the 75% turn meter, which is awesome. This move here all damage, or damages all enemies, an additional 25% physical damage for each effective bleeding on the enemies. But we have Q3, yawning, long day. He has Rupture, deals 340 and inflicts bleeding for 3 turns. So it's kind of like, what do you want to do? Do you want to put on the bleeding? He needs to be paired with somebody who has bleeding in their kit, and he can really crank some damage, but he's got to be paired with somebody as a standalone character. He struggles by himself, and that's why I have him there. But I do like him. 58, Archie and Roe. They're my least favorite half pig, but I'm growing to like them more and more. They can really do some okay damage, but they're kind of like the Sergeant Pigwald of half pigs, just kind of toned down a little bit, right? And Archie and Roe gain 40% potency increase if they have oink. No oink, they gain speed. This is a really, really good passive. If they've landed a critical hit during their turn, they gain oink. You're constantly having oink with him because you're just going to constantly build oink or crit chance on these people. And he's also giving himself a damage increase, crit damage increase, accuracy increase, haste. Recovers 30% of the turn meter for each stack of bleeding on the enemies. Really, really cool. And then fires 3 shots, each deal 310 physical damage. Right? So you're firing 3 shots at random. This goes back to my Shaolin theory. Yes, he's attacking 7 times. He's attacking 3 times, but he's doing 310 a hit. I'm telling you, there's a chance you can get it all land on one person. But if you have oink, you're inflicting bleeding for 3 turns. And if you don't, you're gaining turn meter. Beautiful kit. And the bleeds, you're giving yourself that accuracy increase, really nice. And then 270 physical damage inflicts bleeding with oink, no oink guaranteed to be a critical hit. So you're gonna get oink the next turn if you don't have it. So he plays out really well, and he can be sneaky. Now that you can move the camera around, it's much more easy to target them. But if you had them hidden behind a tank, sometimes it was extremely hard to target them. And I like where they're at here. They continue to grow on me, and once we get a true half-pig leader, I'm really interested to see what they are. But they've almost become a staple in any bleed team because they can spread it around quick and fast. So Archie and Roe, I think this is a good spot for him. 57, oldie but goodie Fow. Fow is one of those characters who I always think I'm going to put lower than I do, and she ends up right in the middle. She offers a lot of good things to bring to the table, and she has some synergy outside of pandas now with the addition of her tier 7, so that's something to be said. Passive ability here increases physical damage by 30%. So at least you're getting something, and then you're getting more with pandas. She deals an additional 10% against burning enemies. Critical hits inflict burning for each living allied panda mage in the party. Really, really cool. Really, really big. And, you know, there is some panda caveats, but she deals 10% more to burning enemies. That could be plug and played. So they did some things with her rework and her tier 7s. Gains as a dodge increase and cheat death, and applies it to 4 allies for 2 turns. That's absolutely huge. The inclusion of the cheat death is one of my favorite T7s. Not saying the best, but one of my favorites. Really changes Fow overall as a character. Deals 400% physical damage to the target and 2 random enemies. A critical hit with this ability decreases their turn meter by 25%, so we have the turn meter manipulation. Then here we have 300% physical damage. Fow recovers 25% of her turn meter. If the ability lands a critical hit, you recover an additional 25%. So you don't have to make her the fastest character in the world. You load her up with crit chance. Here at gear 13, she has a physical damage of 3877. Crit chance unruined is at 48.25%. We're getting to the point, if you can get somebody to gear 13, with these higher end runes, you have a chance of maxing out your crit. That is something really cool, and I'm looking forward to, and characters like Fow are going to go up if that's the case. Her kit is really well built. The reason she's here is because she does need that synergy with pandas, you know, and she is still, even with that cheat death, really, really squishy. So that's kind of where she falls, but Fow has just stood the test of time so far. 56. Might shock some people, but it is Darien. And Darien, with the inclusion of Gear 13, is a monster. Health and shield combination over 100k. Physical and magical armors to start before you put in leaderships or buffs or anything, right at a little bit under 40%. Really, really solid. Tenacity of 60. He benefits greatly from getting the gear. He's one of the most that take a jump. You know that Gear 12 is good, and then Gear 13 is out of this world. And, you know, unruined, he does things. He is a sneaky lead for dwarves, because he gives them both physical and magic armor to all allies by 30%. And allied members of the order have a 50% chance to remove one debuff at the end of their turn. Pretty solid leadership, and as people do more and more damage, having more and more armor helps decrease that. So it isn't as bad as we once thought. Now his kit is still kind of blasé, where he increases physical and magical armor by 25%. At the end of his turn, Darien gains a dodge increase, kind of Titania-esque. Here, on his level 8, he gains taunt, armor, tenacity, removes 4 debuffs. I think that is the highest debuff remover on a taunt we have, and recovers 50% of his health. Deals 290 physical damage to an enemy, applies an armor increase to 3 allies. That still should be more. It should be team-wide at tier 7. Just think it's awful. I mean, at least now it's an AoE, potentially. But you should still be getting the armor increase to everybody. And then his basic is just, I hate it. 360 to orcs, whatever. But I have the test server. I've been able to play Darien at Gear 13. People aren't going to take him to Gear 13. Now, does it make him the best tank in the game? No. Taking him to Gear 12 is a good step in the direction. Taking him to Gear 13, he runs a pretty solid team, and that's something I have to take into consideration. His leadership got better as he gets more armor and tenacity and things like that. His tier 7 and tier 8's ability to everything but his basic pretty much improved his kit. I mean, it's still nothing to write home about, but middle of the pack is a good spot for Darien now, and I enjoy Darien. Been playing him a lot on my free to play, and I don't worry about putting gear into him because I know he can help me. So Darien, you can crucify me, I guess, on it, but growing to like him. Jumping back into the dwarves at 55. Yeah, 55. We have Tool. And you might say, Zary, I thought he was your least favorite dwarf. And he is. But he's one of the best plug-and-play dwarves out there. If he did a little bit more damage and a couple things were tweaked, he could be one of the best dwarves out there. It's just he dies so fast. But Tool the King gains potency, 1% potency for every 2% charge, so he doesn't lose it, he just gains it. If you have 100% charge, you get 50% potency. It's great. Gains a 40% dodge increase if affected by invisibility, so you could pair him with, you know, even a Hera lead in tournaments. You could put him with a Wonder Lua. Things like that make a big difference. If Tool takes no damage during his turn, at the start of his next turn, he recovers 30% charge. That's big. And then Tubald gains the same effects. Pairing him with Tubald takes Tubald to another level. But I can't really take that into account, but you know my love for Tubald. His Mountain Fog is really good. Attacks 2 enemies, 275 per hit, or an enemy 2 times. The target is inflicted by bleeding or an armor decrease. This attack restores 30% charge and he goes invisible. Super good. Serious injury. Attacks an enemy 2 times. Each attack has 260. Consumes 20% charge for every 4% consumed. He gains a 20% chance to inflict bleeding. If both attacks hits, he's inflicted by bleeding and ability block. He's got some of the best debuffs in the game. Bleeding can actually do a lot of damage just by ticking away on people. It's kind of shocking. Attacks to the enemy 2 times. Each attack deals 160. Consumes 20% charge. For every 1% charge, you get an armor decrease. If the target is inflicted by armor decrease, the second attack inflicts healing block. So if you put it on that first time, boom, you get the heal block. So you're putting on armor decrease, heal block, ability block, You have bleeding mixed in there. You have the armor decrease. I think I already said that. He puts invisibility on himself. His kit is self-sufficient, and there's something to be said about that. If you could just keep this guy alive, he can wreak havoc. But the problem is keeping him alive. 54 is Major Shot, and Major Shot, man, I love Major Shot. But his kit is not aged very well. Even with the additions of tier 7 and tier 8s, they helped, but it's not enough. You can do some crazy things and you can get out the blinds much, much faster now. But his leadership is kind of subpar and very RNG based. All allied goblins have 25% more damage against any members of the order. Upon landing a critical hit, goblins have a 50% chance to increase the cooldown of a random ability. So it can be really devastating, but then it can do nothing for you, right? Pretty RNG. Restores one random ability at the start of his turn, 30% chance to trigger once more. Okay. Blindness, you know, you're getting the initial cooldown reduced by 1. At level 6, you get the max cooldown. It's still 7 turns. Inflicts blindness for 1 turn and a heal block and crit chance decrease for 2 turns to all enemies. Right? I hate this little battle mode caveat. And, you know, his basic AoE, well, technically, 70% chance of physical damage to all other enemies. But this blindness, if you can get his cooldowns going and going and going, you can wreak havoc here, especially if it triggers once more. So it's sometimes it works really, really well, sometimes it doesn't. Major Shot, he's not horrible, he's not the best. I used to have one of the most underrated kits in the game, but it just hasn't aged well. The addition of tier 7s and tier 8s helped a little bit, but they didn't push him up greatly. So I think like falling right in the middle of the pack here, top, you know what I mean, right at that middle tier is really good for him. So that's where I'm going to put Major Shot. Number 53 is Hera, and the only reason Hera is here is because of her leadership. All allied members of the Pride gain a 20% dodge increase. When the battle starts, all allied Pride defenders gain taunt. Pride healers and rogues gain invisibility. And all Pride warriors, mages, and rangers gain a damage increase for 2 turns. Could be the best race leadership in the game. If you look solely at people who need to be paired, I think her and Solius could be in that topic. I mean, that leadership is just so good. It makes Salvador amazing. Boris and Kagi, really, really good. You know, so but the rest of her move kit just kind of sucks. If she doesn't take damage, she gains invisibility for 1 turn and recovers 35% of her turn meter at the end of her next turn. Why? Gains a dodge increase, critical chance, which applies it to 1 ally for 2 turns. All other allies gain invisibility for 1 turn, gains counterattack for 2 turns. A lot going on there for a little amount of time. Here, I don't like deals 60% extra damage for each stack removed of this combo. This combo's 300 physical damage. They did up the physical damage with the tier 7 because at level 6 it was only 250. But you kind of got to get this and get this and get this, and then it can cap out, which kind of stinks. And then you come through and do this move, and hopefully it works right, hopefully it doesn't, hopefully she's still alive. She's very squishy. Hera did not have this leadership. She's like Slinger to me, but her leadership is so good for Pride that she needs to be where she's at. And that's about all I got to say about Hera. 52 is Little Baddie, and Little Baddie was one of the best tanks in the game, and she could go back there once you start getting her to Gear 13. Gear 13, 53,240 health, 55,329 shield. Impressive. Very, very impressive. Physical armor, 44.5%. Magic armor, 44%. Potency, 49%. Tenacity is a little low, but people always tried to sneak in potency because it was so low, and she gains a lot of it back at gear 13. Passive ability, she survives a fatal blow. One of the best passive abilities for a defender in my mind. So really like that. Only once per battle. Her blind ability is still way too low at 50% for a tier 7. You know, at tier 6 it's only 30. At least you're getting a 1 in 2 shot here at level 7. Her taunting ability here also attacks 2 random enemies and deals, it's kind of like a mini AoE. And then dealing damage with this ability removes 1 buff. Then she gains taunt. So it is one of my favorite taunting mechanisms in the game, but I always don't seem to remove the buff I want, or I don't remove a buff at all. So still inconsistent there. And she decreases the target's turn meter by 25%. This is a double-edged sword, because if you're going against a defender, you don't want to remove that 25%, and you're stuck using your basic. So I guess it's a pro and a con for Little Baddie, but Little Baddie moved up the list after I saw the improvements at gear 12 and gear 13, which needs to be taken into consideration now. So Little Baddie is one to look at when you start to gear. You can really max her benefit, or reap her benefits more and more in that Soleus comp. She survives a little bit longer because she was getting outpaced quickly by these other beefy tanks, and she comes back into it. So Little Baddie, to me, good spot for her. Rounding out the video at number 51 is Kyra, and Kyra, she used to be so good. She was the first one, I think I told you, she was Arena Store back then, and I was like, get her, or Guild Shop. As soon as you join a guild, you could farm one of the best arena characters in the game. She did suffer a mini nerf, but she's still very good, and I think 51 out of 85 characters. She's starting to get to that upper tier, but she's getting pushed out. As you get her up, her potency increases. At gear 13 it's 55%, and her physical damage is almost 3,900, so she can do a lot more damage, but she's still suffering from that kind of squishy bounty hunter-esque style at gear 13. But she increases damage by 30%, potency by 30% when invisible, so you want to try to pair her with somebody who could put her on her invisible also, which is kind of hard to do in the demon comp, but if enemy is on the battlefield, she receives the same buffs. Alright, this is the move that kind of got the mini nerf. If you're new to the game, applies invisibility and a dodge increase to self and all mages. Before it was all allies except the defender. So she would stealth everybody but the defender, give them counterattack, and restores 50% of turn meter to all allies except defenders. So it's kind of tricky because now she's giving them the invisible, and then she's giving them 50% turn meter, so they're not invisible for as long as they used to be. So that did seem like a mini nerf, more than a mini nerf now, to go dark. I think she would have been truly still in probably the top quarter, top 20 in this game, because you could pair her with so many people to just make her devastatingly OP. And Hail of Arrows, 60% chance to daze an enemy for 2 turns if this ability does damage. Still very, very low. 30% there, 60% there. I mean, you're putting a tier 7 in. I want more than a 60% chance to land a daze. I mean, it is an AoE, I get it, but still. Here, deals 280 physical damage, 50% chance to inflict ability block. She has a lot of non-guarantees. And that's what really makes her frustrating and dropped her down the list for me as well. I mean, 75, 75? Maybe. But she did remind me a lot of that Eric Shieldbreaker rousing cry. When she did go dark, if she beat you to go dark first, it was over. It's over. But that's gone. So she has to go down the list. But this is where she sat for a while, and I think it's a good spot for her, and she'll probably continue to sit there because she does bring good things to the table. So my YouTube family, there is the worst to first all champions ranked. In Dragon Champions, we did 60 through 51. And it might have surprised some people in there, like Darian taking a big jump was surprising to me. Really liked what they accomplished there. And, you know, Hera, with her leadership in there, needs to be where she's at in my mind. Because that Pride team, even with Nessa isn't the best leader in the Pride for the Pride, if that makes sense. So, pretty interesting there. So let me know what you thought about this portion of the tier list. And as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for hitting the like button and commenting. It really means the world to me. So I'll see you on the next one. Love you. I'm out.